And it's the best time of the week for myself, and it's the best time of the week for my partner on the other side, the man that needs no introduction. We know him as the Hydroweight champion of the world, but this time I'll say his name, Harley Smith. Here we are again. I'm the organic mechanic with Kelp4less.com, and we got another good topic today. Uh, Starting to get colder in the fall. We got a lot of harvest going on, and last week we did how to finish up your garden, winding down, how to get the best out of your garden late to finish it, and so on and so forth. We're going to talk a little bit about frost protection and frost control and some little things you can do to benefit your plants during some of the unexpected cold snaps that tend to happen. But before we dive into that, I just got to tell you, Arlie, I've been doing a lot of work in a particular state this year, and I have never, ever had the cooperation of the Department of Ag like I've had in Texas. And I just got to say, God bless Texas, because, their local field reps, the USDA Department of Ag in Texas, their local field reps, they are so engaged. They are so willing to work with you and help you. They really want agriculture to really succeed and be big in their state. And you know what? They're doing it. They're open for visits. They're open for phone conversations. They're open for emails and texts. They really want to do what's best for their farmers. And I just got to throw that out there. Man, it's been fun working in Texas.
That's good to hear because there's sometimes you work with the state and it seems like it's just pushing a boulder uphill. Just can't get anywhere. Get them to return a phone call is tough.
Hmm.
But that's why I would never want to work with regulators in general.
I
But if
understand.
you understand that one, it's just sometimes they nope, this is just the way it is, the way we've always done it, the way it always will be. Yeah, but there's new innovations. There's a chance for us to make progress in agriculture. And sometimes it just feels like you're talking to the wall. I'm glad to hear that.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited too because, a lot of time with dealing with the state agencies, a lot of it's dealing with registration, getting your project registered. And, there's a criteria you have to follow, which is good for consumers and which is good for the environment and so on and so forth. But they generally tend not to care about new innovations or new elements or new configurations of elements. But boy, all the men and women we've worked with in Texas Department of Ag, they are so helpful with registration, so helpful with helping you get your products and label in a way they can conform to their regulations. And it's easy, and they're just so helpful and so polite, and it's exciting to see. And we have products registered in so many states, and some states it's such a headache, and they offer zero support and zero help. Well, the Department of Texas has been so willing to listen and help and guide, and they look forward to some of our new products and procedures that we're working with in Texas. So anyway, got to give a shout out. I'm going to be down there for a couple of weeks in the fall for a lot of harvests and things like that, and just excited to get back there once again. That's been a really bright point in my life lately. It's just the involvement I get with an agency like that. So just got to pass that
That's good.
on.
Okay, that's great to hear. I'll keep that in mind.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I'll give them a call one of these days and say, hey, you know what? I hear a lot of good things about your state. You Open up some
God
doors.
bless Texas. God bless Texas.
God bless
Okay,
Texas.
well, with that being said, are you starting to get cold and get some frost in your neck of the world?
Not yet. It's been about 2.5 or 3.5 degrees above average for the whole month of September here. And we haven't even had one night in the 30s yet, not even the upper 30s. It's the lowest it's been is in the 40s. So we're good this year, but it's not like that every year. Here in Michigan, it's very unpredictable. Usually by now we've had at least one or two frosts, maybe even a
Hmm.
hard frost or two.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the stories I wanted to tell when we're ready to switch over the topic.
Oh no, that's a good topic because we had some frost in late September here, and darn it, I tried all our hanging baskets, our flower baskets around our house. I think it's real important to have flowers in your environment. So we like to do the hanging baskets around our house, and well, I tried to keep them as long as I could, but they got hit by the frost in September. So darn it, I just tossed them yesterday morning. Hate to
Mm.
see it, but they served a great purpose all summer, and it just means it's time for the fall. But I should have called you and said, Harley, what can I do? I know a frost is coming. Give me some ideas.
Yeah, I think it takes as far as plant protection, we know about that. There's lots of things you can do just to cover your crops if you can. If it's a small garden, but protect them. But the one story I have, again, it's going back to when I was doing some of my first experiments with biostimulants and with and doing more with bricks. Learning more and trying to improve the bricks in my plants. And back then, we Sue was going through a period where she had breast cancer and she was on chemotherapy and she couldn't teach. So she was building a greenhouse in the backyard. We're going to start a little business, something for her to do. Sue's not the kind of lady that can sit around and feel sorry for herself. Okay. Actually, she was building the greenhouse by hand with hand
Hmm.
tools in the backyard while she was on chemo. But in the
Wow.
meantime, we said, well, let's do some outdoor hydroponics. So we set up NFT, nutrient film technique. You're familiar with that, where
Hmm.
they're growing in troughs and the water and nutrients are flowing over bare roots and on thin film. We were growing lettuce, and as a business, she was going to the stores and restaurants in the area just to keep herself, put her wig on because she lost all her hair, but she was out there. It was something to do. Okay, well, here's the thing: she didn't get the greenhouse built on time. She was working on it, but she was a little slow. And we were growing romaine lettuce. We did in the NFT. I was doing some of my first experiments with biostimulants at the time and amino acids. And one morning she came in from outside and said, Harley, we just lost our crop. We had a hard frost. This was actually our third frost of the season. You know how it is. Sometimes you get an early frost and then it warms up and you have 2 weeks before you have another frost. Then you have another week, nice weather, another. Well, this was, she said, this was such a hard frost. She said the plants were frozen. You could go out there. She said I could literally snap the lettuce leaf right off. It was hard frost.
Ouch.
We're going to lose it.
Ouch.
And I said, well, Sue, don't worry about it. It's lettuce. We can start seeds 2 weeks from now. We'll be right back where we are now. No big deal. It's okay. Well, then she went out later on, fed the horses that we had at the time. She came in, said, "You're not going to believe this. Come out here. Um, we didn't lose a single lettuce plant to frost damage. In fact, there was such a hard frost. There was frost on the surface when you could scrape it off, snap the leaf. And I said, why? This should be mush. So what do? I come in the house, go to my computer, Google the word frost. What's going on with frost? And it turns out when there's water in the interstitial space, when you get a frost, it freezes, it crystallizes. And then as it crystallizes, punctures the cell membranes, and then it collapses. The cells collapse. But that didn't happen. I mean, it wilted a little bit, but as soon as the sun came out, it was perfectly turgid again. In fact, we sold it that day or the next day, a lot of that crop for 20% above premium price. It had more than 2 weeks extra, had 2 weeks shelf life in the refrigerators during
Hmm.
thing. So anyway, I go with frost. So it's that. But it turns out though, because of the extra calcium uptake with the amino acids, glutamic acid and glycine, which you talked about a lot, that when the plant takes up more calcium, it makes calcium pectin. That's the glue that glues the cell walls together. It's a complex carbohydrate. Helps the bricks go up too. So I did some research there and said, well, instead of water in the interstitial space, we have pectin. And with for every one, and our bricks was off the chart for premium quality, low, medium, high quality. This was so far above premium quality in bricks that you'd have to invite another category for it. Well,
Hmm.
turned out that for every 1% increase in bricks, there was a 2-degree lower freezing temperature. So the plants had built up stronger cell walls, less watery in the interstitial space, and higher bricks. So instead, yeah, it did wilt. It's pulling water out when you get the frost, but it didn't crystallize and puncture the cell walls. So as soon as the sun came back out, it became turgid again. And then we had another 2 weeks at least before we had more bad frost. The last part with this, it was really interesting. We would pull out some of the plants that were like runts. We wanted just the best of the best to go to the stores and restaurants. Oh, a couple of these aren't so good. She would just threw them in a bucket earlier that season. And then we had some rain and we had different things going on. It kind of filled the bucket up and with water. And then we started getting even colder later in the season. There was a layer of ice on the surface, and we had plants weren't growing, but they weren't dying either, and it was still alive in the ice.
Hmm.
The
That's crazy.
roots were in ice, and the plants were. You looked at the very middle of the plant; it was green. The meristem was still there. So that was kind of an unexpected benefit we weren't even looking for. Was the increased bricks contributing to increased frost tolerance?
So at this stage of your career, was that a big revelation to you as we move to more of the term that we all want to use, nutrient dense? Like you were saying, it was above the scale. It was above premium. There wasn't a category for it. Was this some of your first experience with having real nutrient dense crops?
This is when I was finally at a beginning of my career with biostimulants, when I was starting to test bricks more. Before that, I didn't, you know, early in my career, it was just about hydroponic PHEC. That's all I was
Mm-hmm.
really testing and growing great plants. Oh, look at the yield. Oh, look at the flavor. But when I started testing bricks, I noticed that was more than just the minerals in the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one
Absolutely.
of my early tests. And not only was it that exceptionally high bricks, recently we could charge 20% more. I didn't go in the store or to the restaurant and say, oh, there's 20% more bricks. This is the best of the best. They just looked at it and they knew it was really good quality. And one restaurant, and we came in there, they said, well, we'll buy that from Sue. We'll buy, like 6 heads. What? Oh, okay. Well, they took the 6 heads, they made a salad, a Caesar salad for the owner of the restaurant, and all the flavors that are there. You're growing high nutrient dense food. It tastes exceptionally good. It had the
Mm-hmm.
bitter, it had the sweet, it had the peppery flavor that it's supposed to have. And a lot of the romaine lettuce in the store, it's low bricks, it's just something to put salad dressing on. So the
Exactly.
owner of the restaurant, it's gourmet restaurant in the area here, said from now on we'll buy all our lettuce from Sue. So from the Smiths. So yeah, it's not just high bricks, higher quality, and you can tell by looking at it too. By the way, you know, you, you could see that
Mm-hmm.
all the very cells on the very edges of the leaf. I mean, like one cell, like thick. Right around the edge was this golden thread around the outside because the cells were still dividing and they hadn't filled up with chlorophyll yet. But all the flavors were there. But that was a point for me where, wow, this is bricks is something I need to pay closer attention to in the future. And when I did my experiments with biohydroponics, I would do side-by-side tests. I would do hydroponics and have the same fertilizer, same hydroponics with the biostimulants. I could literally measure the difference in bricks just by adding the the kelp, the humic acid, and or fulvic acid usually, or humic fulvic, and the aminos.
Hmm.
And
Right.
you could literally measure it in the lab, the
Yeah, it
difference.
makes a big difference. And with that being said, let me ask you this. I may have asked you this before, and I beg your pardon, but who introduced you to measuring the bricks in plants?
Hmm. Wow. Let me think here. Trying to remember if there was a person. It was probably during my research, because remember I was introduced to biostimulants in the Netherlands, but they wouldn't tell me what it was and how it worked. So I was doing a lot of internet research, a lot of digging, trying to find, looking for clues. And along the way, I'm getting a lot of information on composting. I'm getting a lot of information here and there from the organic gardeners.
Hmm.
And somewhere along the line there, I don't know exactly when, I started hearing about bricks as the measurement of how the efficiency. Oh, wait, I know, I remember. Now I do remember the person that did it. He was, it was Giles Gunstone, and he was in from the UK. He was a big. He was. They were working with tomatoes and things in Australia, commercial production in the UK. He was had a fertilizer company in both places, and I interviewed him kind of early on. Come to think of it, and he was telling me that the first thing he did when he would go into a commercial tomato greenhouse was he would take a leaf sample and measure bricks. He said if the bricks, he said that bricks was a measurement to him on how efficiently plants were taking up water and minerals. So he said if the bricks was lower than expected, first thing he would do was adjust the potassium to nitrogen ratio. Either increase the potassium, reduce the nitrogen until he got the bricks up. He said by using bricks as a measurement, he could before there were symptoms of a deficiency, he could start to address it because he knew about the uptake. But he hadn't. There was that was way before we even did anything with biostimulants. So I had heard about it early on, but I hadn't really started measuring it until I started getting into biostimulant testing and bought my first Brix refractometer.
All right, all right. I was introduced to it late 70s from the old timer, of course, and I'm not
Oh,
sure who introduced the old timer to it, but he was kind of doing the same thing you were doing, kind of monitoring bricks based on some of the trace elements and micronutrients he was working with it at the time. And so it had always been around, but never really utilized to its potential. It was just something that was there that we tried to do, and back then it was very hard to extract enough sap to
hmm.
get a good test. We tried all different kind of methods to do that. Anyway, it was kind of a thing on the side that was just there. Um, but it wasn't until I attended a seminar, I believe, probably in the mid 90s, from Dr. Arden Anderson, and he spoke a lot about the bricks. And it was a 3-day seminar, so and it was a very intimate type seminar. It was before he was really well known and it was pulling really large crowds at these conferences and things like that. So had a lot of personal one-on-one it,
Hmm.
you know conversations with him, and then he referred me to Pike Agri Supplies with Bob
Hmm.
Pike, and then I became pretty good friends with Bob Pike, and he was really into that bricks measurement. I mean, he was, boy, he had so much going on the testing, and so he kind of really took me further down that path, and he had the equipment that made it easy to do it, and so that
Hmm.
that made all the difference in the world. He had a nice press. You could put one leaf sample in and just press out the sap and do the bricks testing. And so, boy, we did thousands and thousands of acres weekly brick tests just to kind of monitor how things were going on. So that's when I first became aware of it. I think I spoke of that in a prior podcast too, how that developed. But It's just another tool to have in your box. It's just another tool. I don't think it's going to replace SAP analysis or leaf analysis 100%, but it's just another measuring tool to help you dial in what we talk about each and every week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I use it in my own gardens. No, I test bricks, but I sometimes I've learned if I'm working with the same crop over and over again, like at home, I could literally take a leaf that's in the light, the first fully developed leaf that's still in light, it's not down low. I can just kind of break it off at the stem and just touch the stem to the tip of my tongue. And if it's sweet, I know that the brix is flowing. I know that sap is flowing and there's lots of
Yeah,
sugar. Going, okay, everything's good. I'm not going to change anything. If I taste it though, and it's really astringent, kind of acidic, kind of puckering up, I don't taste any sweet, then I might make some adjustments. And I do start again, just like Giles taught me with, you know, maybe I'll just add a little PK boost or lower my nitrogen. But then if I want to get it up higher bricks, that's where I start to use the biostimulants more judiciously. So yeah, I don't even need to use a Brix refractometer if I'm very, very familiar with the crop in that environment. But
that
when I first,
is some experience right there, buddy.
yeah,
That you are experienced. That tells it right there.
I can see it, I can taste it, I can smell it. But when I first got my Brix refractometer, I was testing Brix at everything. I'd get some crop, I'll get something from the grocery store. Oh, let's see what the Brix is, and then compare it on my reference chart. And I realized all this stuff from the store is low bricks. It's crap. It's all low quality food. And
Yeah,
it looks good. I didn't even know it. I didn't know what I was missing.
yeah,
So anyway, so I went a little crazy with testing bricks for a while there. It was very disappointing in the stores, but very fulfilling in my own gardens.
yeah, yeah. I've kind of been down that road too. And then I got into testing milk, testing the bricks in milk. And boy, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you get a high bricks milk. Yeah, you can't drink anything else. It's incredible the difference. Believe it or not.
Yeah, well, this is a good topic. It all comes back around to really bricks as a recurring theme. All my classes is a recurring theme over and over again, from IPM to plant nutrition to microbiology, all of it. Brooks just keeps coming back over and over again. I guess I'm going to say one last thing. It's probably time to wrap up here since we're
Okay.
mentioning bricks. The bricks refractometer that I got to start with was a Milwaukee bricks refractometer, decent quality, um, but it was manual. You did do the leaf test, the saps,
Hmm.
and I had a vice grip that had a spout on it, and I could squeeze that out, a couple of drops. But when you look through the instrument, if you're just looking at sugar, it was very sharp delineation. Here it is, like reading a thermometer. But if there
Hmm.
was a lot of nutrients in the water in the sap, amino acids and vitamins and other things, you get kind of a fuzzy line,
Hmm.
a sharp line. And that's what I would look for. I'd like to get the highest bricks I could get, but with a fuzzy line because I knew that was nutrient dense food and not just looking at sugar.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, because there's not that real definition line of demarcation with what you're describing. It's kind of spread out. It's a thicker line. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, more
But,
compounds in it.
but in the lab, of course, I used the digital because I want a number. I didn't want my own, I didn't want to skew it with, I think it's a little higher, it's a little lower, just write the number down. But in my own gardens, I knew what I was looking for. I wanted that fuzzy line to be higher and higher up on my Brix refractometer.
Yep, but that's good
Yeah.
now. Now everybody's going to be sending their leaves to Harley to taste. Can you taste this? Tell me it's got high sugar. You're the refractometer now, Harley.
Yeah. Tip of the tongue.
That's funny. Uh,
Okay, well, that was good today. I hope you start feeling better. You get to
Thank
completely
you.
recover whenever you're under the weather with. But I'll
Yeah.
talk to you next time, and we'll keep in touch. So we'll know in our next podcast. Oh, I did get another
Okay.
call this week from a fan who watches our podcasts.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Well, good. I'd
from
like to hear that.
Canada.
And then I'll try to do one from you in the field this fall. We were talking
Hmm.
earlier. That might be fun.
Okay. All right. I'll
Okay.
see you next time.
Okay.
Have a
Thanks,
good one.
Harley. You too. Bye bye.